All right. Alex, I'll take 5. We'll go vice versa. Brandon Cease, a junior out of South Carolina. He's 6 foot. He's 190 pounds. And also, Alex, with this transfer portal, I mean, all of these guys basically played on more than one team, which is just funny from years prior that we've done these lists. It hasn't just been one team all 4 years or all 3 years, whatever it may be. It's multiple teams. So along those lines, I guess I should say, 23 and 24 played at NC State, 2025 at South Carolina. His stats in 2025 are as follows: 27 tackles, 19 of them solo, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 5 pass deflections. The strengths for Brandon: explosive athletic ability, his length and strength to become more disruptive in press coverage specifically, the ability he has to sit on those short routes and squeeze his workspace from the off-man coverage. His weaknesses are as follows. He's below average in kind of route recognition and understanding where that break is going to happen and matching up to it. So he gets beat quite, off the line. Struggles to find playmaking positioning with his back to the ball. That kind of works alongside with the off the line and finding out when receivers are going to break and route recognition. And then I guess the all-encompassing. So now we talked about his work off the line of scrimmage and route recognition. Then we talked about his positioning with his back to the ball. Well, add both of those together, he has below average kind of tracking and adjustments on those downfield balls that are 50-50s. So kind of one leads to the other, and that's how you would kind of address his weaknesses. But at number 5, Brandon Seiss, a junior out of South Carolina.
Yeah, moving to number 4 now, we've got Colton Hood, sophomore out of Tennessee, 6 foot, 195 pounds. And you kind of alluded to it already now. Each class, every year now, we're getting more and more, transfer guys, more and more guys who are bouncing around for different NIL deals. And Hood is one of those. He spent 2023 at Auburn, then went to 2024 for the Deion Sanders boom at Colorado, and then in 2025 went to Tennessee. In 2025, which was his main season, where he got the most snaps, he had 50 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, and 8 passes deflected, second team all SEC. With him being a sophomore, he's only actually played 22 games in college. So the sample size is very limited. But in that sample size, you do see really good technique, both in man and zone coverage. Route recognition is definitely excellent as well, along with his potential to be very good in the run game department. But I'll get a little bit more on the negatives to that in a second. And he's very much a guy who's willing to get involved in all aspects of the game on defense. But as I mentioned before, he is able to identify and read different run schemes, but he definitely struggles in the tackling department. A number of missed tackles throughout his sophomore season, especially at Tennessee, where we again saw the largest sample size from him. So that's something he needs to work on, and something pretty typical you see out of corners coming out of college, but obviously even more typical when you're talking about a guy who has such limited experience and is so young, like Colton Hood. So that's the main weakness with him. Has some penalty issues as well, but in terms of the main things he needs to clean up in order to be a better cornerback in the NFL, it's definitely the tackling aspect, and also probably needs to gain a few pounds in order to be a very effective corner on the outside.
Alex, you just mentioned a guy that played on Tennessee. There's another Tennessee player, another cornerback in this list as well, all in the top 5. So Tennessee Cornerback University, ? Possibly. You might want to trademark them. You would think Tennessee is the wide receiver, right? Jalen Hyatt school, wide receiver school, but cornerbacks too. Let's go to, honestly, I would say, even though he's number 3, the most well-recognized and the most highly named cornerback, and that's just because of the team he really played for, but he also excelled on that team. It's D'Angelo Pons, the junior out of Indiana, obviously the national champions. He's 5'9", 170 pounds, so jumps right off the page. 5'9", that guy is short to play cornerback. We'll get to that in a little bit. 2023 was at JMU, last 2 seasons at Indiana, so wasn't there just for the national championship run. At least you can give him that, right? He spent a couple of years there, won not a national championship. 2025, 60 tackles, 43 of them solo, 1 forced fumble, 2 picks, 10 pass deflections. Not only is he a CFP champion, but he's also a first-team All-American. He's a two-time All-Big Ten player. That was in 24, so not only in the Natty season, but last year as well. He was the Rose Bowl Defensive Player of the game, the Peach Bowl Defensive Player of the game as well. Let's go into his strengths first. Pons plays with fantastic zone awareness in any variation thanks to his quick feel. He tracks the wide receivers in the backfield as well. His instincts are tied to his strong eye discipline, and they make him a formidable opponent when reading the quarterback's eyes as well. Another thing, he's competitive. I mean, that's something that I think Kirk Cignetti at Indiana, preached and showed all of his players. Be competitive. Be the guys that you want to be feared. Be the guy, you want to be feared by these opponents, but also just, play up to your standards. If you're a very good player, show that you are a very good player. Talk like you're a very good player. So he wasn't afraid to mix it up with any receiver to play physical and man coverage. And he also trusted his ability a lot of mirroring receivers too, to recover throughout the route if he missed it on the initial break to then catch up to that wide out. He recognizes route combinations well. He maintains a proper depth and kind of zone responsibility when they do play in zone, or when they did play in zone at the Hoosiers. Took me a second there. And then he passes off routes. He communicates with his teammates at a high level. So I mentioned he's 5'9". You kind of assume that was going to be in the weakness category. He's undersized. He's got shorter arms for a cornerback. That might, scare a lot of NFL fans and probably NFL scouts too when you're thinking about the pro level, because everything is excelled to a higher standard in the NFL. So obviously those shorter arms limit his play the ball ability against taller and longer receivers. I mean, think about him, Alex, against a Devontae Adams. Think about him against a guy in Jackson Smith and Jigba playing in the Super Bowl. It's a little scary to just think of those names on paper. His lack of length could impact his ball production at the next level. And also, while he's a willing participant against the run, he struggles to get off blockers, probably because he's undersized, and wrapping up consistency is his challenge, or wrapping up consistently, I should say. So he kind of falls down around the ankles too often, and then that just creates missed tackles. So that's number 3. D'Angelo Pons, the junior out of Indiana. And Alex, honestly, yes, I mentioned multiple weaknesses, but it kind of seems like one leads to the other. It's really that he's undersized. He's 5'9", 170 pounds. And it's hard to kind of draft a guy like that and be like, I want you as my number one cornerback when the dude's 170 and 5'9".
Yeah, I mean, you're looking probably at a slot corner, if not even a safety, potentially at the pro level. So, he's been excellent in college, but like you mentioned, the main difference between college and the NFL level is the physicality and the size. And when you are losing both of those things when you're drafting a guy, it's usually a negative. And in terms of pure football skills, he might be the best guy in this class. But in terms of what he can bring to the table based on his physical traits, which obviously are out of his control, it's going to drag him down a little bit. But a guy who, I don't know if you've noticed this, Josh, but very much like slides all up and down rankings, depending on where you see him, what a guy thinks about him. And you could see him anywhere from, the first top rated corner to the 15th rated corner. So very interesting guy. And I'll be curious. I think the combine will be very big for him, along with his pro day, to kind of see where he ends up kind of sliding into when we come around to the end of April. But number 2 now, you mentioned we have another Tennessee guy on this list. Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee, 6 foot, 193 pounds, spent 2023 at Oregon State, then 2024 at Tennessee. This past January, or just over a year ago today, he tore his ACL, so did not play in the 2025 season, still is draft eligible and declaring for this year. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, because we don't really know what he's going to look like, come draft time, come, his rookie season. But in terms of what we have seen,
I also don't know if he's going to play in the combine.
I mean, it's tight, maybe.
Yeah,
but
tight turnaround. I don't know, because that might tank his draft stock. I'm sure he's like repping up and everything, but think about it, Alex. You don't play for that long, and then you go straight to the combine, you decide to participate, and you don't do well. I mean, you're talking about these lists where he's either number 2, like we put him, or number 15 because he missed this past season. he doesn't do well in that combine, then he goes on 15 for everyone's draft board.
Yeah. And I think he's going to be a guy who slides just because of that. But I mean, the ACL tear is the big weakness, right? Yeah, he doesn't really have great recovery speed either, which is something you see on film, but not something that's super detrimental to his stock. And I think the medical report will be the most important thing on him when teams get him in the building. But, I'll try to focus more on his strengths because it's always tough when you're talking about a guy who had such a devastating injury like that at such a critical point in time. But great ball skills, had 4 interceptions in his 2024 season. So really a ball hawk, someone who has really great route recognition, obviously, to get those interceptions and turnovers. Really good at, disguising coverages as well. So he's a very fluid, natural corner who's always going to have his eye on the ball. But, like I said before, that's all well and great, but we haven't seen him really on the football field for almost 2 years now. So, there's not, like we said with the other, corner from Tennessee, there's not a lot of sample size purely because he's only a sophomore. But for McCoy, there's not a large sample size because of these injuries. And we haven't even seen him really get to that next level of development yet because we don't really know what he could have been if he played in that 2025 season. So, not a lot of weaknesses for him to improve upon that are, very urgent. So you're not talking about a tackling issue or issues in zone or man coverage. So not as much worries about that. But, obviously we've seen a lot of these talented corners over the years, Josh. I'm thinking of Caleb Farley just right off the top of my head, who great college career, terrible injury, tanked his draft stock, really never got a chance at the NFL level. So I'm hoping for McCoy's sake, that's not what's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility depending on what the medical report says. But he is still very, very talented.
And another very talented guy, Alex, is our number 1 player, numero uno on this list. Another SEC guy, but a very interesting story because he came from the ACC. Mansour Delane, a senior out of LSU. That's our number 1 player. He's 6 foot, he's 190 pounds, but he was a former 3-star out of Maryland and played 3 seasons with Virginia Tech. So his final senior year, when he went all out, he said, I need to prove myself. I want to get my draft stock higher. And he did just that because now he's listed as the number 1 cornerback on basically everyone's list. Really bet on himself there to get yourself out of the ACC, go into the SEC after 3 years at the same school. Pretty interesting stuff. So I really do commend him for that. In 2025, he had 45 tackles, 28 of them solo, 2 picks, 11 pass deflections, which left him as a first-team All-SEC player and a unanimous All-American. Why is that? Let's get into the strengths and find out. He has great instincts and feel for receivers, breaks and timing. He displays good use of his physicality at the line of scrimmage and throughout the route, managing proper technique and timing to avoid, that's right, 0 penalties in 2025. I guess I should have said that's right after I said it. So now that's right. He had 0 penalties in the entire 2025 season. That's a big deal, for a cornerback to do that and escape a season without getting penalized once. A smart football player that excels with his eyes on the quarterback. He also has a feel for the routes around him when he's in zone coverage. Kind of the strengths that you would expect from a number 1 player on this list. His weakness, his punch timing in press coverage, it can be a mixed bag. So there's sometimes where it's really good, sometimes where he can't get the receiver after the initial burst. He has to catch up to their speed and unsuccessfully does so. He looks less confident when shadowing receivers in the slot, and that may limit his versatility. So that is the 2 listed there with his weaknesses. But besides that, I mean, Mansour Delane is kind of the player you're looking for. He's been rumored to get picked by the New York Giants at their selection. Oh my gosh, why don't I not know what the Giants number 4 in the NFL draft, right?
5.
Number 5 in the NFL draft. So will he go to the Giants there? That's the question. But Alex, let's just real quick go through our list again. We have Mansour Delane, senior out of LSU, at the number 1 spot. Number 2 is Jermod McCoy, junior out of Tennessee. Number 3 is D'Angelo Pons, a junior out of Indiana. Number 4 is Colton Hood, a sophomore out of Tennessee. And number 5, Braden Seiss, a junior out of South Carolina, are top 5 cornerbacks in the 2026 NFL Draft.